Welcome back, everybody, to more from the Stabilized. We're continuing our look at our Unbroken Bonds deck profiles, and today I'm here with Jordan. How's it going, Jordan?
Very well.
That's good, and we're going to have a look at Reshiram Charizard GX and its deck. This is probably the most hyped deck coming out of this set, so let's have a look and see the list that we've built. If you like the content, feel free to like, comment, or subscribe. And without further ado, let's get straight into it. Our list has 3 copies of Reshiram Charizard GX. It has 270 HP. It's a big chunky boy. And it is Fire type. It has Outrage for a Fire and a single colorless. 30 plus 10 for each damage counter on this Pokemon. For 3 Fire and a colorless, Flare Strike, 230 and you can't use it next turn. And then for its GX attack, it has Double Blaze GX, 200 plus for 3 fire, and if this Pokemon has at least 3 extra fire energy attached to it, it does 100 more. 300 damage is nothing to sneeze at.
Yeah, this card, when I look at this card, it reminds me almost of a better Pikachu. It's just got more HP, which is a big deal. It's more aggressive, it does a lot of damage quicker. The only downside is that it probably doesn't have as good a GX attack, but it certainly doesn't have a GX attack to ignore either.
No, even using this just for the 3 energy is not a bad call, because 200 can still do the business, so like we shouldn't be sleeping on it. The only downside it has is that it's got a massive energy cost, said Mitch from a year ago when he couldn't attach infinite fire energy for free. Also,
not hard now.
It's not hard, and if you go second, this Pokemon, Volcanion, is a good option going first as well. If you're sorry, not going first, going second as well, because Flare Starter, you attach a fire energy to it, and then if you attack with Flare Starter, you get to search your deck for a fire energy. Now that's not all that amazing, but when you get to do that on your first turn, if you're going second, you search your deck for 3 fire energy and attach them to your Pokemon in any way you like. So getting 4 energy attachments plus potentially a welder off turn 1, you can find yourself on board with 6 energy without even really doing much.
Yeah, it's almost this like a power heater Volcanium, but much more powerful in terms of energy acceleration. Even if you're not doing the chip damage that Baby Volcanion used to do, this one has such more a stronger and faster form of energy acceleration in the game.
It's crazy. It's got 120 HP, so it's not the bulkiest, but it's also got a reasonably decent second attack for 2 fire energy, which is easily acceleratable because of Welder. It has Feverish Explosion for 50 plus. If there are 4 fire energy or more in play, the attack does 60 more. So 110 for having 4 energy in play, bearing in mind that you can just attach 3 in a turn. Seems like a solid non-GX option that can potentially put you into a game that you weren't in to start off with.
Yeah, it seems like a really good strategy against a deck like Zapdos, if that continues to be popular in the next format. Doing 110 against Zapdos every turn is a pretty decent number to do, and of course with 120 HP, you are forcing them to play double Electro Power just for 1 prize.
Yeah, and it's really, really good. It's probably not the greatest Pokemon floating around, but the support that it offers is just insane. As does this card. We've got a 2-2 line of Salandit and Salazzle. Salazzle is its support Pokemon. Roast Reveal is an exceptionally powerful ability. When you discard a fire energy from your hand and draw 3 cards, you cannot complain.
Yeah, when I think about all these new fire support cards, Salazzle is certainly the one that excites me the most. It's the one that really makes me think that fire is not just going to be a gimmick, but really going to cement itself as a spot in Tier 1. And I personally would love to see a thicker line than just 2-2 in this deck.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is that you could easily put in a 3-3 line just to increase your consistency. It's such an exceptional draw support. Like, Zoroark's excellent because it draws 2. Salazzle, even though it has to get rid of a specific resource, draws 3 cards is really, really good. We're going to do the supporters on the same page here because the Pokemon line is very thin, as is the supporter line. But the thing about Fire decks, Jordan, is that they've got a one-track mind. They want to attach energy and attack. So in order to do that, we're going to play 4 copies of Welder, which attaches 2 fire energy cards from your hand to one of your Pokemon, and that allows you to draw 3 cards. So if it's one of those things where if you think about it, if a card said attach 3 energy and draw 3 cards, you'd definitely play it. So 2 and a manual attachment doesn't seem unreasonable.
Yeah, the fact that it draws 3 cards alongside extra draws such as Salazzle, it's realistically the supporter you're going to want to play almost every single turn if you have 2 fire energy to spare.
Yeah, it's really, really good. Another supporter card that we're playing, we've seen a lot in our proxy boxing series, is Green Search. Apart from Salazzle, all of our Pokemon don't have abilities. So in the early game, before we get our Salazzle out, we can use Green Search. We can even use it to find a card to search out Salazzle. The good thing about Green Search is as well, Jordan, that turn 1, it's an excellent supporter because you can search out Heat Factory, and you can also search out a way to search your Fire Energy with Fiery Flint. So instantly drawing 3 cards is a pretty good option as well.
It also seems like a good option to be able to find a switch turn 1 to get your Volcanion if you don't open with it, and of course being able to search for Salazzles on the turn 2 is probably the most important card to get out, so
yeah.
Seems like a fine thing to do turn 1.
Really, really good card, as is this one. We're taking big knockouts, so we want to make sure that we're knocking out the things that we want our opponent to lose the most. Guzma to bring out the threats and knock them out with Reshiram Charizard seems like an excellent play.
Yeah, it seems like a very weird lineup of supporters, like considering we're used to seeing supporter lines consisting of mostly Lily and Elm, and there really isn't much in terms of raw draw, but it just really shows how powerful Salazzle's ability is, and these fire support cards can kind of just allow you to work just as consistently with the few cards you have to work with off of Green Search or Welder.
Yeah, 100%. They're really, really good options for you, and it means that you're a little bit more flexible. You don't need to rely on luck. You can just pick up the cards that you want, or just attach energy. We'll move on to the items now. Items are a little bit more varied, but still reasonably interesting. We've got 4 copies of Ultra Ball. It's important that we're able to search out our Pokemon turn 1. Ultra Ball is the best way to do it. We can search for it with Green Search in order to get ourselves a Salazzle as well, which is fantastic. Our other ball search are 4 copies of Nest Ball. Pretty much everything that we're worried about is a basic. So apart from our Salazzle, every other card can come down with a Nest Ball. It's a pretty thick ball line, but still important. Make sure that we get the cards out that we need to get out turn 1.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting that this deck doesn't have any basic Pokemon that with an ability that needs to be played from hand, so Nest Ball even stronger in this deck than we're used to seeing. I could even see an argument for cutting Ultra Ball down and maybe putting in a Timer Ball or 2 if you are playing a thicker Salazzle line.
Potentially, yeah. There's options for it, and Nest Ball, since it's so powerful until it rotates, hopefully at the end, well, not hopefully, but hopefully not at the end of the year, it's likely to be at the end of the year, is going to see a lot of play in the upcoming format, as will this card. We've got 4 copies of Pokegear to look at the top 7 cards and find a supporter card there. Most of the time we're going to be looking for welders because we want to attach our energy from our hand, but green is probably not a bad choice either. The only card you don't really want to see is Guzma, but you never know, it's another out to get it, which can be quite important.
There's plenty of times when winning the game or losing the game comes down to getting Guzma at the right time, so I would certainly be thinking Pokegear is a fine card to help you do that.
100%. Now, we move into some of our more fire-specific items. We've got 4 copies of Fiery Flint. Fiery Flint, when you think about the fact that fire energy is so important in this deck, is bonkers. Discard 2 cards from hand to search your deck for 4 fire energy. When this card came out in Dragon's Majesty, everyone was kind of like, oh, that's cool, but it's not necessarily that great. And then they released Heat Factory, and then they released Salazzle, and then they released Welder. So they were kind of like, this card's good, let's make it even better.
Yeah, in fact, the only deck I can think of having played Fiery Flint before now is actually Gramble, and it didn't even use it for the main draw of the card. It was almost just a 5th Ultra Ball in that deck, but it just has so many more uses in a deck like this where it can become your draw engine as well as the cards that you need to attack.
Yeah, and you can even discard 2 fire energy with Fiery Flint, because you can always just pick them up again with Flame Crystal. We're playing 3 copies of that card. Putting 3 fire energy card from the discard back into our hand is really, really good. When you're attacking for 4 fire energy, you need to make sure that you've got enough, and also it becomes part of your draw engine as well. So an important card to get those resources back.
Yeah, this card almost seems like this deck's version of something like Acro Black, where it allows you to mill through your deck faster than you usually would be able to, thanks to Salazzle and Heat Factory. Just every fire energy acting as draw 3 cards, it kind of acts as a draw supporter.
100%.
And there's the Heat Factory right there.
Speaking of Heat Factory, that's our only Stadium card in this deck. We're not really worried about contesting the Stadium War, because we're kind of saying we're going to win in 4 turns. So we're not super worried about it. We're just trying to get ourselves, our attackers powered up as fast as we possibly can, and Heat Factory is going to allow us to do that. The only turn in the game when we cannot draw more cards with Fire Energy is turn 1, so Heat Factory is an obvious option to give yourself an extra bit of draw. When you combine that with a Welder, drawing 6 cards and attaching 3 energy is a silly effect.
Yeah, it's certainly wish you could play more than one Heat Factory in this deck more so than any other deck we've seen in the past, but just the one Heat Factory adds so much flavour to this deck.
It certainly does. We've got 2 copies of Switch. You mentioned it before, Jordan. We need to make sure that Volcanion's in the active, especially if we're going second. So Switch is a good card that we can use Green Search to search for to put that Volcanion in the active. It also means that we've got a bit of flexibility to move around if we have to. We don't like it when people bring up our Volcanion, because it's got such a hefty retreat cost, so Switch can get us out of the active and attacking again. But yeah, pretty solid card that we probably don't want to miss out on.
Yeah, I would say that just as important as it is to switch into Volcanion on your first turn going second, it's also super important to switch out of Volcanion after you've set up your Reshiram. There's no point in having a whole bunch of attackers powered up on the bench if you can't actually get them into the active. Obviously, Guzma is another out to being able to switch your Pokemon around, but sometimes you just want a Welder, and Switch is a really good card to find in those turns.
It certainly is. It's got such a basic effect, but it's so powerful, definitely worth including. Same with our Rescue Stretcher. Lots of decks play this card, almost all of them, because it is so good. We can search out, return cards from the discard pile, get ourselves maybe another attacker and not a Pikachu Zekrom, what am I talking about? Reshiram Charizard. Maybe we can get ourselves one of our Salazzle back if we need to, or even shuffle stuff in just to make sure that we've got the resources we need.
Yeah, I would say overall in this deck, you're almost always going to be wanting to use Rescue Stretcher to kind of re-power up your Salazzles if they're targeted down, because obviously with tag teams giving away 3 prizes each, you're never really going to need a 4th Reshiram Charizard unless you've got a bunch of prizes, and Volcanion doesn't seem like a card you'll be stretching for too often either, but definitely super important for getting those Salazzles back.
100%, and our final item card is 1 copy of Choice Band. Reshiram Charizard already does 230, so Choice Band might seem like a strange inclusion, but there are lots of tag teams that are actually 260 HP or less. That Choice Band can get you there, make sure that you're doing enough to take a big knockout on a tag team. It also means that if you use Double Blaze GX for its base energy cost for 3, do 200. Won't knock out a Zoroark, but a Choice Band will, so you're going to make sure that you have that card on the correct turn. Damage multipliers are generally good. The interesting thing is that it's actually 10 damage short of hitting an opponent's Reshiram Charizard, so it's one of the downsides of this deck is it's going to find the mirror match very difficult.
Yeah, I would say in a mirror match you're probably going to be looking to kind of offset the price trade a bit using an attacker such as Volcanion, but Choice Band obviously is a generally good card, especially since you can search for it early with Green Search if you desperately need it as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of cards that we could consider including in here as well, but at the moment I feel like this is probably the most basic and consistent line. If you're considering building this as soon as the deck comes out, then please remember that everyone's going to be targeting this down. This is the obvious deck that people are going to be picking up, so it might be worth considering including some other options as well. Moving on to Energy. Energy's a really easy one. 4... It's actually not that easy because there's so many of them. 8, 12, 13. 13 Fire Energy. It's a nice sparkly one at the top. I'll put that down the bottom. There you go. 13 Fire Energy. Not only is it what we're attacking with, but we also are going to be using it for our draw engine. So as many as possible is probably the way to go. As much as the old Volcanion EX decks used to play, I'd imagine that you wouldn't be disappointed to have a few more as well, and I wouldn't be surprised if 14 or 15 get played early doors as well. We'll see how we go when it comes to that.
At the same time, though, if you compare this to something like Blacephalon, where Blacephalon is burning its energy and having to find new energy every turn, this deck kind of, once it gets an attacker or two powered up, can rely on the same energy over and over again, using cards like the Crystal to get the energy back and using your attackers to stay alive and keep the energy on the board. So I definitely feel like 13 is probably about the perfect number, not too high, not too low.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want to be spending too much time filling your deck up with energy, because the worst thing that you can do is open a hand with one lone little Salandit and then 6 energy. That would suck. But hey, that's the deck. It's a pretty simple one, nothing too crazy. It's essentially designed to make sure that you take as many prizes as you possibly can as quickly as possible. So yeah, if you've enjoyed the content, feel free to click the little Sableye that's in the middle of your screen right now. On the left hand side you'll see a video linking you to a game we played with Reshiram Charizard in our Proxy Boxing series. And on the right hand side you'll see our entire playlist for Proxy Boxing. Thanks very much, Jordan.
No problem.
And we'll see you all next time for more from the Sableyes. Until then, enjoy yourself. We'll see you later. Bye.